boys and girls. My name's Rebekah Maxim, and I'm going to talk to you for a little bit today about my friend here, the harp. Have you ever seen a harp in person before? They're kind of rare. They're not very common. So if you haven't seen one in person before, I'm going to talk to you about it and explain everything about it. This is my harp, and this is actually, it's big, but there are other harps even bigger than this one. This harp is only 40 strings. A full-size harp that you would see in an orchestra has 47 strings. 47! You might think, well, that's not that much bigger, but this one still doesn't fit in an orchestra. It's not big enough. This is a pedal harp, and I'm going to explain more about that in a minute. And there are other harps that are smaller that are lever harps. They have levers up at the tops of the strings, and they're played a lot in Celtic music, like Irish music, and different more folk style music. But this is very much a classical instrument, although there is jazz harp as well. You can play jazz on the harp. I'm not that good, but I am going to play a little bit for you today later on. So the lever harps have, like I said, they have levers at the top, and this harp and lever harps, let me explain this. All of these strings are like the white keys on the piano. That would be like if you had just played a C scale on the piano, all the white keys, that's what this sounds like. Now, you might say, Miss Maxim, there are some colors in there. They're not all white. Well, these sound the same as all the white keys on the piano, but I do have some colors on some of my strings. All of my C strings, they are red. All of my F strings are colored with a black coloring. Some companies put blue in them. And that's so I can see where I am when I'm playing. If I didn't have that, I would get lost. There are some harpists that are so good they don't need the colors, but I'm not that good. So they help me, especially if something is moving on this side of the harp. I get lost really easily because I can see through the strings. On the piano, you can't see through the keys, right? But on the harp, you can see through. So this helps me know where I'm supposed to be. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about actually, let me explain really quick. What I did right there is dampen the strings. When these are vibrating after I've plucked them, these strings, like right here, they like to copy them. And they like to pick up the sounds that are being played up here, and they start to vibrate. And then they're making sounds when I didn't want them to. So that's why I have to put my hand on them and tell them, hush. All right, so the strings down here, these ones are a lot like guitar strings. They're made from steel. These strings way up here are nylon or plastic. You might find nylon strings on a ukulele. Some guitars use nylon strings. So they're not like really hard, but and they make an okay sound. But these strings right here make a beautiful sound, but get ready, they are made from the intestines of sheep. They're made from lamb guts. And the factory that makes these takes lamb or sheep guts and they stretch them and stretch them and stretch them, and then they twist them and they make these strings. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, Miss Maxim, that's so gross. Well, it is kind of gross, but they've cleaned the strings, there's nothing left on them, And these strings make my harp sound amazing. So, if I didn't have the guts, the lamb gut strings, it wouldn't sound as pretty as it does. Now I talked earlier about all these mechanisms here, or this being called a pedal harp. The reason it's called a pedal harp is because I have 7 pedals down here at the bottom. And each of the strings, all of the C strings, are attached to one pedal. So I have a C pedal, I have a D pedal, I have an E pedal, and so forth, okay? So if you notice, every 8 strings, it's a C, right? So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strings with their own name. C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Each of those strings, all the way up through the harp, has a pedal that each C string is attached to a pedal. All of the D strings are attached to a pedal, and so forth. That is how I get the black keys that are on the piano. That's how I get them into my harp playing. So the piano has white and black keys. Like I said in the beginning, right now this is just all the white keys on the piano. But if I put one of the pedals down, let's say I'm gonna put all of the black strings, all of the Fs, I'm gonna put them sharp. So here they are natural. But if I move the pedal, it raised the string just a little bit, and now I have F sharp and I can play in the key of G. And that's how we play in different key signatures, or use, have accidentals, things like that, sharps and flats in our music. This right here, this is where the strings, when I have to change the strings, I'll show you the back of the harp. See the holes here? That is where I put the strings through. When I have a string break and I have to replace it, I feed the string up through here and I pull it up through the harp, pull it up through here, and then I attach it, and I have a turning key that I use to twist posts up here that the string attaches to. Something else, this right here, is called the soundboard. Every wood string instrument, I should say, well, for the most part, most string instruments have a soundboard. And that is what makes the harp have such volume. That's what helps it carry, helps the sound carry off of the harp. It's very important. This is a very, very important piece of wood. With all of these strings pulling through the soundboard, there's a ton of pressure coming right here. No pun intended, it is actually a ton. 2,000 pounds or more is being pulled through here. This part of the harp is very important, very delicate right here. You have to be really careful with this part because of so much pressure that's being pulled through the harp. And this right here, this is the column. And all of the mechanisms for the pedals that I talked about, they feed through that column and they come up and they operate all of these. These things that tighten and loosen the strings so I can play black keys like sharps and flats like I talked about on the piano. So the harp is really, really interesting. It's a very old instrument as far as the harp instrument has been around for thousands of years. This harp isn't old. This one was built probably 10, maybe 12 years ago. Not too bad. But the style, the instrument itself has been around for a very long time. So I'm going to play a little bit for you. I'm going to get my pedals in place and make sure that I've got everything set. I'm going to play a song for you, a piece that is called The Little Fountain. And it's going to sound like water, and I hope you enjoy it. I have really enjoyed talking about my harp with you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I hope you've learned some things. I hope you can recognize or remember some of the parts of the harp that I talked about. Do you remember what this part is called? Remember, it's what helps the sound carry, gives volume to the harp. It is called the soundboard. What did I say I have at the bottom of my harp that helps change the strings to sharps or flats so I can play all kinds of different things? Remember what they're called? They're pedals. And how many of them are there? Do you remember? Let's see, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B. How many is that? That's how many pedals there are. Anyone remember what this is called? It has all the mechanisms of the pedals coming through it, so it can come up here and operate all this. This is called the column. Remember I said there's lots of pressure pulling in all kinds of directions here because of these strings. There's so much pressure coming up through the soundboard. Remember I said it was a ton, which is at least, well, a ton is 2,000 pounds, and there's at least that much pressure coming up through the soundboard. All right, remember what I said, these strings down here are made of, they're like guitar strings, they're made of steel. These strings up here, the little ones, are made from nylon or plastic, kind of the same thing. And these strings through here, remember what they're made from. They're made from sheep guts or lamb guts. Yep, they are. All right, boys and girls, I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope that someday, if you've never seen a harp in person, I hope you get to see one. They're really, really cool. Have fun.